Hi everyone, in today's lesson we're going to talk about how to graph with a phase or horizontal shift. So we need to recall equations with vertical shifts. So the A is still always the amplitude, B is still my cycles, and D is still my vertical shift or my midline. So now today we're going to discuss equations that have an added piece inside the parentheses. So A is still my amplitude, B is still my cycles, and D is my vertical shift. But in this case, we have this plus or minus C inside the parentheses. So this piece right here with the B on the outside, notice the B is on the outside, that is called a phase or a horizontal shift. So this is horizontal or phase shift. Now, just like all the transformation rules you've done in your mathematical career, if it is a plus C, that actually means to go to the left, and if it's a minus C, that actually means to go to the right. So let's first talk about the way the equations look. So in each of the equations below, I want you to find the horizontal shift. Notice the way that this is written, the B is on the outside of the parentheses. And notice how this is written. It's 4x plus pi, where this one is 2x plus pi over 2. The horizontal shift needs, the cycles needs to be on the outside of those parentheses. So what we actually have to do is divide out the 4 with a GCF. Even if you can't divide it, you still have to write it on the outside, followed by an open parenthesis. So when you do that, these cancel to x, and you're just left with here as pi over 4. So notice what we were just able to do. We were able to get it in this form where the b is on the outside and then x plus or minus c, right? So if we bring everything else down here, this is negative 2 sine, and then it's all of that minus 3. So what we just found is our horizontal shift by if we look here. So remember, plus means to go to the left. So if we were to write down the horizontal shift, it would be left pi over 4. This value here is still my b, and this is still my vertical shift. And then more specifically, it would be down 3. And the absolute value of A is still my amplitude. All right, let's try another one. So again, we notice that the 2 needs to come out. So we need to divide by 2. So we've got 4 cos of something plus 1. So we're going to take out a GCF of 2. These will cancel. We'll be left with x. And now we have to divide pi over 2 divided by 2. So the only way that's going to work is if we keep change flip. So we're going to keep the pi over 2. We're going to change the division to a multiplication, and we're going to flip the 2, or the 2 over 1, to be 1/2. And we multiply straight across. Pi times 1 is pi, and 2 times 2 is 4. So plus pi over 4. So similarly, how this had a plus sign, so does this one. So we're going to go left, same thing, pi over 4. This would be my vertical shift. I'm going to put VS for vertical shift. It would be up 1. The 2 is still my cycles or my B value, and the 4, the absolute value, would be my amplitude. Okay, so now that we know how to work with the equations, now I think we're ready to graph. So let's take a look at this one. I actually see a typo, so I want to rewrite this equation as pi over 2, not 3 pi over 2. All right, so now that we fixed that, we notice that there's a 2 there that needs to come out. So we need to take out a GCF of 2, and we'll see what's left on the inside. So when I divide these 2's out, obviously we get x, and we need to divide pi over 2 by pi. So we're going to keep the pi over 2, change division to multiplication, and flip the 2 over 1 to 1/2. And we multiply tops with tops and bottoms with bottoms. So we get pi over 4. And all this in the parentheses, we bring down our negative 4, our sign, and our plus 3. So from here, we need to answer all of these pieces in the table below before we can graph. So A is our amplitude, so the absolute value of negative 4. is 4. That's the number in front, right? That is our A. Our cycles here is B, so that B value is 2. Our period is defined by taking 2 pi over B, where B is our cycles. So 2 pi over 2 cancels to pi. Interval is period divided by 4. Period is pi, so pi over 4. The equation of our midline is our D value, so this plus 3 means the equation of our midline will be y equals 3. Our max value is when we take our midline and add our amplitude. So our midline is 3 plus our amplitude is 4, so our max value is 7. Our min value is when we take our amplitude, our midline and subtract our amplitude. So 3 minus 4 is -1. So our range is our minimum value, -1, our maximum value, 7. Our vertical shift is our midline, so up 3. And our horizontal shift is here. So since it's plus pi over 4, that means we have to go to the left, pi over 4. If it was a minus, then that would mean we're going to go to the right. So here is called my phase shift. So now we have all of the necessary information to graph this thing. So we know our min and our max are -1 and 7. So that means I'm going to put my XY axis probably somewhere like this, and maybe put a -1 here and a 7 here. Our midline is 3. So I'm going to go ahead and put 3 here. And that's my midline. And I'm going to label my axes with what I count by. That's my interval, so 1/4. So we've got 1/4 pi, so pi over 4, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, which is pi, 5/4, 6/4, 7/4, and 8/4, which is 2 pi. That's what they're asking us to count by or go up till. So we need a negative sign graph. So it helps if we know what negative sign looks like. So we know negative sign will start at our midline and go down, up, up, down. So wherever our midline is, that's where we're starting. However, this graph says we're going to shift the graph left pi over 4. So instead of starting on the y-axis, we're going to start left pi over 4. So you're actually going to need another tick mark right here, which would be negative pi over 4. So instead of, like I said, instead of starting my graph here, I'm going to start it left on the midline. So we're really going to start it right here. You can even extend your midline a little bit if you want, but this is my first graph, my point. So we're going to start here, then we're going to go down, up, up. So we're going to go from the midline, we go down to our min. So down, at pi over 4, we're going to go up, and then 2 pi over 4, we go up. So we start midline, down, up, up. So midline, down, up, up. And we keep going. And then we're going to go down to our midline, down to our minimum, and then follow the pattern just as we've been doing. So we go down, up, up, down, up, up, down. And that's it. That is my graph with a horizontal shift. And what you're going to notice is that if you look at the graph from the y-axis, it no longer looks like a sine graph. It actually looks like a negative cos graph. And that's interesting. That's going to happen. You are going to see the graphs change when you have that horizontal or phase shift. All right, I know that was a lot. So if you have any questions, now is a good time to jot them down and definitely ask me in class tomorrow. All right, have a good night.